Good morning, Rotarians. Thank you for joining us. This club meeting is called to order. Shortly, I'll be sharing my screen and leading us through another fun presentation to direct the conversation. Periodically, I'll bring that screen share down so we can see each other's beautiful and friendly faces and engage in more dialogue. Family and friends are always welcome to attend our club meetings, so don't hesitate to invite someone like your buddy at the mini golf course. Why not? Feel free to speak out as you would in an in-person meeting, but if you're not using your microphone, be sure to put yourself on mute, or maybe I will do it at the cost of a club fine. And here we go. Welcome everybody to the Fortuna Sunrise Rotary Club meeting for March 31st, 2021, and that is volume 39 of my presidential year. We've almost made it to 40. We have an outstanding, amazing, super duper Rotary Club, and I'm so thankful to be a part of it. This time I will introduce our guests. We have, let's see, from the City of Fortuna Parks and Rec Department, and our speaker this morning, Cameron Mull, is here to join us. Give it up for Cameron. We're waving our fingers. That's how you clap on Zoom, or if you can't hear. So we also have Denise Marshall from the McLean Foundation. Thank you, Denise, for being here. Michelle Bushnell, one of our county supervisors. Thank you, Michelle. Nice to see you back again. And we also have Lisa Losi. Thank you for joining us, Lisa. All right. Cool. Anybody else? Doing a quick scan here. I think that's all and the rest of you are outstanding club members. Thank you for being here weekly, but not weekly, W-E-A-K, Lee. Yeah, anyway, jeez. Maybe I missed my calling as an English teacher. I doubt it. Here we go. So normally at this time we would be doing the flag salute, but you know, it's very hard to speak in unison, I found, over Zoom. So why not a little bit of an American history lesson? Did you know that on this day in 1943, the musical Oklahoma debuted on Broadway? This play was written and famed by a duo, Rodgers and Hammerstein, and was originally titled Away We Go, and continues to be produced in theaters across the country. Outstanding musical there. And also in 2011, a deadly Egyptian cobra escaped from New York's Bronx Zoo and was found alive in the zoo's reptile house a week after its escape. The funny thing about that, though, is during its absence, the snake became a minor celebrity after someone set up a Twitter account in its name and started making humorous comments. So if you missed the deadly cobra, Egyptian cobra, there's a little reminder. 2011, that happened on this day. An inspirational message. We'll pass it over to Rotarian Frank Ramos.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
So here's one, a short one from Mahatma Gandhi. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.
Yes, yes. Or in the words of contemporary poet Marshall Mathers, aka Eminem, lose yourself to the music, right? Anybody there with me? No, maybe Chris. I see him smiling. Okay. Oh, let's see here. And four-way test this morning, we are going to call on, let's see, who did I pick? It was Ken. Ken Houtby.
Newly retired.
Newly retired Ken Houtby for the four-way test. Ken.
Not quite yet. I still got a couple more hours.
Okay, a couple more.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will build goodwill and better friendship and will be beneficial to all concerned.
Right on. Thank you very much, Ken. Okay. Let's see. Announcements. We've got some stuff happening. Stuff's happening. Hey, this is cool. Board of Directors ballots. You'll be getting a second voting opportunity. It'll be coming soon, maybe in a couple of days in your inbox. Very similar to the last one. It'll be a Google form. You go in there, you check a couple of boxes of people you think would be awesome board members, and then we'll tally the votes and let you know who won this year. Hey, winning. District Training Assembly, now free, Friday and Saturday, April 16th and 17th. We're only a couple weeks away from that. So what, 2 weeks? 2 weeks and a couple days. So I would really suggest new members or members that maybe have forgotten a couple of things, people that want to connect with Rotary at large. Very, very great learning opportunity and just a way to get your feet even deeper into Rotary. So please, please attend if you have it in your capacity. Also, Fortuna Chamber of Commerce is doing a drive-up dinner fundraiser, and it's going to benefit the Fortuna Skate Park as well as the Fortuna Chamber of Commerce. That is Friday, April 9th. We're right around the corner, about a week and a half away from that. Lasagna dinner. I think all the dinners serve 4 or more people. It's done by Doris and Daughter Catering. They've got those yummy beer bread muffins. So I would humbly suggest that y'all support the chamber and their fundraising efforts this year and benefit the Fortuna Skate Park, which very deserving cause there. Ooh, I want a skate park in town. See this 4-year-old get out there and fall around a couple of times. Okay, I guess 40 just for a couple more days too. My birthday's coming up. All
Do you
right.
own a skateboard, Simon?
I do. It's actually in my classroom at school. Sometimes I'll pull it out and skate around the class. Art teacher status. Kids love that. Especially when I try to ollie. They're like, no! You can see them all wincing. Like, don't break your neck. Backpacks, it's our partnership. Backpacks for Kids, it's our partnership with Food for People. We get food in the hands of folks with food insecurities. We do those every week, and we pack the backpacks today. Today we've got Debbie and Jim Scaife, as well as Jeannie Weiss, and I'm sure a plethora of other Rotarians will be there to help out. Next week, April 7th, we've got Buster and Lori Garrison, Sue and Don Finch, and John Sapper. Hey, I'm going to pull down the screen share and see if anybody has any announcements, any upcoming things that you'd like to add to our, roster of events coming up. Any announcements? Maybe? No? Okay. It's been a quiet year. It's starting to ramp up, it seems like that. Okay. All right. Well, I'll pick on some of y'all later, but before I do that, or segueing into that, why not talk about some art? So being an art educator, my theme as a president has been sharing art with everybody. I'll present an artist, we'll take a look at some of their work, and then on the last slide, I will call on a Rotarian to critique, interpret, talk about their work, and then the club kind of joins in too. And we've been really just getting into this. So let's continue, shall we? So the artist of the week this week is Ben Heine. And here's a little self-portrait he did of himself. Pretty cool. So Ben is a Belgian visual artist, journalist, music composer that was born in 1984 in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, and currently living and working in Brussels, Belgium. He's got a master's degree in journalism that he completed at the IHECS School of Journalism in Brussels. And he's briefly studied the history of art, painting, sculpture at Hastings College of Arts and Technology in the UK. He's a self-taught person when it comes to drawing, photography, and music. And he's had over 10 years of work experience in communication and marketing. Through his academic training, he was also able to learn several instruments, drums and piano, and several languages. He speaks French, English, Dutch, Polish, Spanish, and Russian. So he doesn't sleep very much. And here we've got 3 of his pieces. This is a series where he did a larger than life painting, and then also got somebody to stand in front of the painting and then painted on top of them as if they were part of the painting. And the piece on the left there, you can see it the best because the model, and I think that's actually him, is taking off his get up there. But it's really disguised there in that centerpiece with all of the brambles kind of interlocking and those flowers and stuff. But if you really look, you can start to see the volume, the convexities and concavities of that model in there, right? You can see the edges of them and maybe a little bit of the shadow that they cast. And the one on the right's the eyeball there. Really interesting work, how he breaks this kind of 3D perspective thing, and not necessarily photorealism by any shape of the manner, but he has to be very conscious of the human form that he's painting and how it's going to work with the background. So there's definitely a lot of technical aspects and a process to his work that I love. And we'll get a little further. We're going to look at a series of his called Pencil versus Camera, and that's the piece that I've got as my virtual background today. Is a piece from this series, and this is kind of what he is known for, his hallmark artwork. And he uses a technique called forced perspective. And Ross, you're probably familiar with forced perspective. If anybody's watched that awesome holiday movie called Elf with Will Ferrell, they used a lot of forced perspective work in that because Will Ferrell's gigantic, but they wanted him to appear like he was living in the town of the elves. So they wanted him to look even bigger. So they would put him really close to the camera and all the rest of the actors very far away, and it would make him look like he was even more gigantic. And they've used that in cinema over and over and over again.
Let me chime in for those of us of a certain vintage that two Disney films were very famous for it. That was The Gnome-Mobile and Darby O'Gill and the Little People. And those were all done with forced perspective with giant sets to disguise the height of the gnomes.
Yeah. So really, really cool work. And he takes that and flips it in an artistic sense, right? So an original visual concept that was invented and popularized by him, and it's kind of taken off. A lot of artists are doing this now, but he kind of coins himself as the inventor of it. The image in the series are usually hand-drawn on a sketch held and photographed by the artist to infuse in ordinary scenes with a new surreal visionary or romanticized narratives. Ben's visible hand represents the connection between the viewer, the artist, and the artwork. Heine does not recreate photographs, but he reimagines them. And in these images, he likes to tell a story and convey timeless messages using imagination, illusion, poetry, and surrealism. His work is powered by fearless positivity, and an already beautiful looking photo is enhanced with a sketch that adds a splash of satire and whimsy. And here we've got this guy catching a fish, right? Although there isn't that much strain on the fishing pole there. And then he's drawn what the guy's catching. It's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 6 different fishes, and there's a shark and a guy riding this shark. It's pretty fantastic there. And then you've got this kind of scruffy, I don't know, maybe even like a stray dog on the street. And they put this cute little cat with his tail and a heart. And then you've got maybe a mother and daughter or an older woman and a younger child sitting at a bench kind of looking at a community, and the daughter's there painting home into this little bunch of houses in the backdrop. Really, really sweet little pic there. All right, and now it's the time to call on a Rotarian to critique some of the artwork. And I think I'm going to call on Don Watkins again this morning. It's your second time playing this, so you should be a vet now, Don. And an appreciator of art, I know.
I'm indeed appreciator of art, especially the weirder the better.
And you might get some of the pop references here. There's a couple of little pop culture references that are thrown into this one. So,
well, the first one that I saw was, of course, the little Darth Vader dog.
Yeah,
which makes me really happy. But I'm not. You'd think I would be more pop culture than not. So I'm just going to trust my gut. Plus it's early and the coffee hasn't activated the pop culture yet. So, okay. No, okay. So this kind of reminds me of, I can't help, but this does date me some, but I can never see these kind of things without thinking about the AHA video from way back, So it's sort of,
yeah.
Yep. And I'm just going to have to, y'all either know it or you don't. And then, so it's like, the staticness of the buildings and the staticness of the cars and the bricks against the movement and the chaos of the cars flying around in space is pretty interesting. So it kind of changes the perspective of what's going on. And then the calmness of the people is kind of interesting. Kind of reminds me of, this is going to be completely wrong, but it also reminds me of like something like, who was it? Daft Punk?
Yes, that's it. You got it. You got it.
Okay, good. I was trying to decide if that's who it really was, because it was like you have to speak, so I was thinking Daft Punk's kind of like, directing all the chaos and everything. So So yeah, I don't know. I like how he brings it. So the thing that, so now that I know, now that I was thinking in that terms, like, oh, like now I hear all this cool music in my head that kind of goes with this scene. So yeah, I don't know. It's a cool mixture of all the different textures and colors and all the different forms going together. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, that was great. That was
That
great.
might be all I have.
And folks that aren't familiar, Daft Punk actually just called it quits, but they had performed together, I don't know, 13, 15 years, and they were part of EDM, electronic dance music, really like ultra popular pop group, and they kind of created some form of anonymity because they would wear these masks, these kind of futuristic space masks that you see there in the center. And I believe they also did the music for a Disney film called Tron, which is a reboot of an old 80s movie. And so you can see in their hand, they've got these little like Frisbee discs that I think were incorporated in that movie, although I haven't seen it, but I've been to Disneyland and I've seen them throwing around those little Frisbees.
Oh, that explains that. That movie, the movie, that's the only thing I liked about that movie was the music. So it's kind of cool. Explains that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Okay, well,
Anybody else? Anybody else want to help Dawn out? Take it a little further.
I would like to make an artistic comment that the artist, he doesn't have a lot of foresight, but he sure has a lot of hindsight.
Ooh, okay. Oh boy. Okay. Quippy puns. Okay. Don, that was pretty fantastic. There's not much to fault there. Although you did talk a lot about color, and the more I look at this piece, I don't see a lot of color there. I see a lot of grays. The drawing's obviously black and white. So, but there are some green and red colors down there. I'd say they're pretty muted when it comes to color. So,
well, that's how he uses the color. I didn't say it was a lot of color. I said he uses color because he does, because there's a weird symmetry to everything, and yet there's not. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, you have to look. See?
You have to look. You have to look. And this is a great example of what we call 1-point perspective, right? So if you were drawing this out, or when you drew this out, there's a point, what they call the vanishing point, where the sides of the street or the edges of the buildings finally meet. And the classic example is the road going into the. You see that in early artist work, but you can do 1-point perspective looking down, like you're looking into some buildings or in a tunnel or a cave. You can also do it looking up. So 1-point perspective. We talked about forced perspective, 1-point perspective this morning. You guys are learning all these cool art terms. So sweet. That was a great job, Don. I think I'm going to let you off easy. $5. How about that?
Okay. So I'm in the Century Club.
Okay. Hey,
so...
I'm going to turn down the screen share here so you can see all of these lovely people's faces. You know what? And since you're passing it on, I mean, and because there's no rules on fines, I'm bumping it up to 10.
All right. I don't know. It's just so much fun.
Does Ross have any input on maybe people that are falling behind here?
Yeah, there's a former retired grocer that is lagging quite a ways behind. I won't give him his name out to you. You have to know what his occupation used to be.
Well, actually, hang on a second. I am gonna have to go with Herb, because I miss seeing Herb walk past us. I don't see him so much walking past the ranch. And so since I miss you so much, I'm gonna give it to Herb.
Herb.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
or as we say in the United States, herbs, right? Herb.
You got that one. The spicy person.
The spicy person. So what herb do you identify with, Herb?
Rosemary.
Rosemario. I love it. On a nice sourdough baguette. Yum.
Can't get much better than that.
Yeah, a little butter, a little salt. Oh boy. Hey, so you guys might know about this, but for people that don't, why not do a little recap? Hey, Fortuna Sunrise Rotary Club is all fired up. And so what are we all fired up about? Our club has decided that the first responders is a great cause, and even more focus. We want to focus on our local volunteer fire department. So how do we raise funds in the current world that we're living? A pickup dinner, of course, coupled together with a virtual event. This will be Saturday, May 22nd. It's coming up, everybody, and I appreciate everybody gearing up for this. Simultaneously, we'll also be doing a non-perishable food drive for our friends at Food for People, and the food will be prepared and distributed at our Fortuna Fire Department right here in town, and will help specifically our local firefighters. They've got a bunch of capital improvements that they're doing to the building, a new training facility. It's going to be fantastic. Later that night, we'll have a virtual event, an auction, a raffle, bingo game, some kind of ways to win money, and also get really cool things to take home with you. And that'll all take place virtually. And so I thank you so very much, everybody who has offered to join a particular group. I'm not going to go over the groups and the people that are in there, but there's been emails over the last week. People are really taking the ball and starting to run with it. And so I'm so thankful. I'm so very, 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 very thankful. So thank you, everybody. And at this time, the weekly recognition. Okay, so I've been drawing people from the club, and I am going to continue doing that, but time has been escaping me. So I thought I would do just a couple more traditional style photos of club members out in the community doing things, or maybe some wild Photoshop type stuff, just to recognize our outstanding club members. All right, so here we go. Who am I going to recognize first? Oh, it's not that person. It is this. That somebody here looks familiar. And if you recognize this photo, you might want to unmute yourself. Look at these cowboys. Goodness gracious, what are they about to do? I'm hoping you'll unmute yourself and tell us a little bit more about the story. And then I've got a couple questions for you. Do I have to say? Well, there he is.
What you see here are myself and two friends, Steve Hawks and John Rice. Otherwise, among our ranching contemporaries, known as the Silverbacks. Some younger cowboys saw us standing together and had the crazy idea that somebody ought to take a picture. And we're at a branding. We're done with the work. We're getting ready to go to the barbecue. And that's what happens when you try to be a cowboy and you get real old. That's what you end up looking like.
I think you ended up looking fantastic. I mean, look at those chaps and everything. You got
Hey. That's with the S, chaps. Never, unless you're in a New York commercial, it's never chaps.
Okay.
It's chaps.
Okay, shaps. And are they shapless shaps?
They are not. They are, what you see is what you get right there.
What you see is what you get.
Hey, Walt, at this age, would you be a chaperone?
That's pretty much all that I'm good for, yes.
Oh boy.
Although I did actively participate in the work, as did those guys.
I'd expect no less from you, Walt. And so I've got a question about cowboy hats. You know, the purpose of a cowboy hat, keep the sun out of your face?
Yes, keep going.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, like, you know, cowboy hats are a little antiquated, right? I mean, you don't see people wearing three-cornered hats or pirate hats or anything around, but cowboy hats have remained relevant somehow. Explain why. Just the look? I mean, what's the draw there? I'm curious.
Well, from a practical standpoint, they protect you from the sun and the inclement weather, rain, snow, whatever. And that is no small item when you're out in the sunshine or in the bad weather. They're a very practical way to protect your head. And, you know, we do take pride in how we take care of our hat. For instance, you never place the hat brim down on a table or flat surface. If someone takes your hat, which you try to avoid when you enter their home and try to do that, it's hard not to be rude. You immediately grasp it and turn it over and lay it on its top if you can't hang it somewhere.
And is that because it manipulates the actual folds in the brim or something like that?
Yeah, and then it won't shed the rain. It'll just pool up. You'll be carrying a little puddle around on your head.
Mm, mm. That could be cool, but also soggy and wet at the same time.
Yes.
All right, that was enlightening. And what about the shaps? What's the purpose of this item? I mean, I'm an art teacher here. Enlighten me. I've never
Well,
worked there.
lots of times you're riding through brush,
Okay.
and it protects your legs. We were roping calves that day, and the rope, after you catch the calf, turn your horse and head for the fire, the rope runs alongside your right leg, and that thick leather is a lot better to protect your leg than just a pair of blue jeans. There are different styles. They hang differently. In the wintertime, you might wear a pair of shotgun chaps, which are just kind of like tubes, and they'll really keep you a lot warmer. In the old days, they used to make them out of bear skin or sheepskin with the hair out to protect you from really cold weather. So there's all kinds of options.
Oh, wow. Oh, hey, we learned a lot this morning. Maybe just me. I'm living in Humboldt County. I didn't know the answer to all these questions, but thank you so much, Walt. I appreciate it. Let's see. Well, this is pretty, I mean, I'd say Stetson models here when I look at this picture. So, you know, the utter, you know, masculinity and bravado and I don't know, just animal magnetism that's just coming off of this photo right here is worth some money. But also the fact that you corrected me on my mispronunciation of shaps. I'll take that to the grave with me. That's also worth some money too. But so I think I'm going to hit you for 10. Is that all right, Walt? Can you handle that?
Oh, I'm cheap at twice the price. I'm really glad to correct you. The
Okay.
shap thing kind of gets under one's skin when you hear it.
There you go. I will never call them chaps again. It'll always be shaps. And then I'll get to correct people. I love this. Awesome.
You know, Simon, if you hit him for 15, he will be in the Century Club.
Whoa, let's just do that then, Walt. Or do you want to do 5 to like Polio Plus or something?
We can do both.
Okay. So 15 to the Century Club and 5 to get you up to that double 10, $20. And I'm going to ding this bell. Hey, we got somebody in the Century Club. We're getting closer. Next stop, the whole club. All right. So I've got one last little recognition here. Anybody watch television, you know, TV shows? You know, crime dramas are really big, but also, you know, with the start of ER, what else was there? There was General Hospital. There's been these, you know, TV shows, serial TV shows that appear in hospitals. And I hear they're making a follow-up to one that's really popular right now. I don't know how many seasons it's been going, but is anybody familiar? Maybe somebody in the medical community that's a part of our club might have their mic unmuted here pretty soon. Has anybody heard about Greg's Anatomy, this new show that's coming out? Anybody?
Please don't talk about Greg's Anatomy.
Dr. Greg Bartle, where you at? Do you know about this?
I think you photoshopped a little extra hair into that picture.
You think so?
I think I'll pay $5 just for the good work.
Oh,
Can you do that for me, Simon?
What's that, Don?
Can you do that for me?
Oh yeah, that sounds hilarious. Actually, maybe we should do like the do of the week. Don Jewett's do of the week. Give you different. Okay, anyway, back to Greg Bartle. Oh, that's some good ammunition there, Don. Yeah. So, have you watched Grey's Anatomy? And are you familiar with the sequel that's coming out, Greg's Anatomy? Are you familiar with either of these, Dr. Bartle?
What's ironic about this is I actually helped teach the anatomy course at UC San Diego for a couple of years. So you're closer than you know.
Wow. So when I was in art college, we did a figure drawing class. You know, you draw models, but we did an anatomy section. It was really cool. They took us to the anatomy department at the college, and we got a lecture from the professor that teaches anatomy, and then we got to go see the cadaver, and that was so fascinating. Some people barely wanted to look in the room, but I threw on some gloves and was just, you know, feeling all the organs and stuff, and it's just so fascinating. So did you work when you were teaching anatomy? Did you work with cadavers as well?
Oh yeah, each of the medical students, well, they team up in groups of 4, and so you have 4 students per cadaver. So
Wow,
when you have over 100 medical students, that's a lot of cadavers.
that is a lot of cadavers.
And
Yeah.
then when you're studying after hours, you're definitely outnumbered in there.
Well, but yeah, you just hope the zombie apocalypse doesn't happen. So I'm curious though about these TV hospital shows. How realistic are they? You know, does a doctor like yourself kind of groan when you watch them, or are they?
Oh, no, a lot of times the diagnoses are correct. It's just the extracurricular activities are a little exaggerated.
Okay. Okay. So let's just pretend, because is it the truth? No, it's not. They're not coming out with Greg's Anatomy, but it's sure funny. If there was a show Greg's Anatomy, what would the extracurricular activities be of this this character here? Would you skiing? What?
I'd just be gardening in my backyard.
Sounds riveting. So it'd be kind of like a hospital show meets, I don't know, Martha Stewart or something like that. Here I am gardening.
So Dr. Greg, I have a question for you. Would it be fair to say that you have a lot of good places to stash the dead bodies?
Yeah, that's kind of how I fertilize the garden.
Oh, an organic gardener.
The show is getting better by the minute. I love this show. I think we got something. We should pitch it to NBC or CBS or something like that. We know somebody who works at the TV station. Anyway, Greg, I will stop picking on you, and I'll take this photo down. But goodness, I'd watch the show, maybe. So you put in 5. What do you think? Maybe let's put it up 5 more. You cool with that? Let's do 10.
Sure. So,
All right.
Actually, no, Walt did 20. I better do 20 also.
20. Awesome.
But
Thank
you better apply it towards the Century Club this time, since you tricked me last time.
Yeah.
Well, no, you only have 27 more until you're in the Century Club. So
I better save $7 for the next shenanigans.
Okay. Perfect. So you're getting real close. I'll put that in the back of my mind. And Don Jewett, you're in the Century Club, right? If I remember correctly.
I am not in the Century
No.
Club. I have 15 to go.
No,
5 to go.
5.
Oh,
5.
5 to go.
5. Okay. So a new hairdo will probably get you close. All right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we've had enough tomfoolery. Why don't we get back to the matter at hand here? I think I'm going to pass it over to our program chair, Erin Dunn, and she's going to introduce this week's program. Erin.
Thank you, President Simon. We have Cameron Mull, who is the Director of Parks and Recreation with the city, here to talk to us about the maybe pool, and also some other grants that are coming up. But I also wanted to point out some of our guests today. Denise Marshall, as you know, is the Director of Grants for the McLean Foundation, and also on the swim committee, the pool committee. Lisa Losi is the office manager for both the McLean Foundation and the Eel River Valley Foundation. The Eel River Valley Foundation owns the property and the McLean Foundation might do some funding. So that's why they're integrated. Chris Broadstock, who is our club member, he's not a guest, but he is the chair of the Eel River Valley Foundation, in addition to being on the McLean Foundation, and Dennis Scott, who is the president of both foundations. So they're very integrated into this pool situation. So I just wanted to update you on that. And now we have Cameron Mull, who not only is the Parks and Recreation Director, but an avid swimmer with a storied past with swimming. And take it away, Cameron. We're just so glad that you could join us this morning.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it. It's good to be back. Thanks and good morning to everybody. I think it's probably been 1.5 or 2 years since I presented last, so I'm happy to be here. And so today I will focus on the pool. There's probably a lot of questions about a future pool here in the Eel River Valley. So I'll focus on that. However, that pool effort is going to be, right now that effort is primarily focused on grant funds. So getting the pool constructed. So there was a grant opportunity through California State Parks recently that both the city and the Roner Community Recreation and Park District both submitted separate applications for. So when you hear that pool committee, it used to be just an ad hoc pool committee, but basically the Roner Community Recreation and Park District has been around since 1968, and it was reformed a few years ago to continue that original effort and mission of building a pool here in Fortuna. So I have a presentation that I gave to City Council on both the city's grant project as well as the pool. And I'll focus mostly on the pool. I think that's where a lot of the interest is. So forgive me if you did chime in to that City Council meeting and have already seen this presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, Simon, if that's all right.
Of course, you should have.
Thank you. Can everybody see that?
No.
You can't. Okay, let's try it again.
There we go.
Okay. There we go. Okay. So there's a statewide park program grant, and there were multiple rounds. This last round was the final round. And there's quite a bit of money available. So this was a great opportunity for both the city and the Roner Community Recreation and Park District to apply for funding for a specific project. So little overview of that grant. So there's about $400 million available. This is the final round. As I mentioned, there's no match required, which is huge, especially for a district like the Roner, like RCRPD, in that they don't generate a whole lot of annual revenue, tax revenue, that would be able to construct or support the operation and maintenance of a pool. So the grant applications or the grant projects have to be focused on acquisition or development of a recreational feature or park space. Your project has to be between $200,000 and $8.5 million. We did submit both of those grants on March 11th. We will hear when those grants will be funded by late summer 2021. A big component of these grants is the public outreach. So perhaps many of you were involved in the Newburgh Park expansion public outreach for the city's grant, as well as through the feasibility study, mostly for the Roner Rec District. They did quite a bit of public outreach for that feasibility study. So this grant's basically points-based. The projects that can fund underserved communities are going to be priority, essentially. But this being the final round and other projects being funded already with Prop 68 funds, I feel like either the rec district or the city has a really great opportunity, a really good chance of being awarded either of those funds. So projects has to be completed by 2025. And again, the two projects or applications that were submitted were on behalf of the city and the Roner Rec District. Start with the Newburgh Park, and I'll be brief here because this basically we did apply for this grant in the third round, and then basically just fine-tuned this grant application again, made it a little bit stronger going into this final round. So this would be a rehab of the existing Newburgh Park, which would include, most of you know how wet the fields can be throughout the winter and into spring. So it'd be a rehab of the existing park, which would include, improving drainage, crowning the fields, a couple outdoor basketball courts, a few tennis courts that are lined for pickleball, and some additional parking spaces. I'll show you a conceptual design here shortly that'll show all of these features. And then also the expansion of a park. So the acquisition of that 8.4 acre parcel that's adjacent to Newburgh Park that the McLean Foundation owns and has so kindly held for the city to be able to expand Newburgh Park eventually. So on that expansion, you'd see a skate park, additional parking, cook shack bathrooms, a picnic area, soccer fields, which would allow some of our baseball and softball teams to play ball in the fall when soccer typically takes over most of the field space. This would allow us to kind of spread out and allow some more sports to happen simultaneously. And then perimeter and facility access through paved ADA trails throughout that park expansion. So there's that 8.4 acre parcel, an aerial view of that. So the park would go for 24 to 32 plus acres. And here's that conceptual design. I know some of the wording on here is pretty small. If you can see my mouse, here's that additional parking on the existing side, a couple basketball courts, few tennis courts. Throughout this whole conceptual design, you can see the ADA trails that are basically connecting to all these facilities as well as around the entire perimeter of the park. And then over here on the expansion, you've got those regulation soccer fields. You've got this parking area here. The skate park would go over here in the corner along Ronerville Road and Strongs Creek. And then the cook shack with a picnic area and some bathrooms there. So that's the city's project. It's a $7.5 million project. Actually, it went up to 7.9. 7.5 was when we had originally our last round, essentially. So prices go up significantly, about 3% every year, construction costs. So we had to adjust some of those. So it's more like 7.9. So next, moving on here to the pool. So the Roner Community Recreation Park District. There are 5 board members for the Roner Rec District. Denise Marshall is one of those board members, Abe Stevens, Becky Giacomini, Jacques Debitz, and Sean Coleman, 3 of which were appointed by Fortuna City Council. The other 2 were appointed by the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors. And so the city serves as staff and basically kind of leads the effort as far as getting this pool effort done. We know the city, it's great interest to the city to have an aquatic facility built here and to the community. And so we want to do everything we can to assist the Roner Rec District in making this a reality. So the pool or the aquatic facility project is an $8.3 million project. So almost hitting the cap of that grant funding availability. And so most people are already aware of this. Maybe you've even seen the sign over there that was recently erected over on the McLean campus about the future pool going in over there. But so the future pool is going to go over on the McLean campus, which is located next to Newburgh Park. And the specific location would be between the Gene Lucas Community Center and the Humboldt Senior Resource Center. So there is a little placeholder there that you'll see an opening for the future pool. And McLean was so kind that when they built the Gene Lucas Community Center, they plan on having a future pool. So the infrastructure was developed at that time when the Gene Lucas Center was built to support a future pool. So we really appreciate McLean having that projection and insight into the future. And so the Roner Rec District has a 30-year lease established with the McLean Foundation to operate, construct and operate a pool on their campus. So a lot of the facility amenities for this future pool, again, were based on the community input from various stakeholders, different groups, high school, seniors, the city council, some of the other various local commissions and boards, as well as just having open community forums and getting feedback from the community there. So up to this point, the Roner Rec District has already completed a feasibility study a couple years ago by Councilman Hunsicker, as well as an annexation and revenue generation analysis to basically explore how, once the pool is built, how are we going to operate and maintain it, because it's not cheap to operate and maintain a pool. So going back to the location here, there's an overhead map, excuse me, aerial map of where the pool would go, and a couple pictures of the Gene Lucas site and where that future pool will be. This is just a conceptual design. So based on that public feedback and the cap of that $8.5 million grant, this is what the pool could look like. So You know, right now it could be a 6, it could be an 8-lane pool, but we know that the community would like to have a separate warmer pool for swim lessons and for senior activities, which would then allow lap swim and other activities to go on in the lap swimming pool. Of course, you've got your lobby and your locker rooms and the typical stuff, your storage, a lifeguard room, potentially maybe even a room in the future to, you know, host birthday parties or something like that of that nature. So this is potentially what the future pool would look like. So again, you know, if we get the grant, that's great. We can construct a pool, but then how are we going to keep the pool open? How are we going to maintain it? So a pool of that design and cost typically will cost around $350,000 per year to operate and maintain. And so based on that annexation and revenue generation analysis that I mentioned that Laco Associates performed on behalf of the Rona Rec District, you know, there are some options. So right now, the Rona Rec District's boundary is larger than the City of Fortuna's. It goes beyond the City of Fortuna. It encompasses the city, and there are about 5,700 parcels in the Rona Rec District's boundary. And they get us less than 1% of property tax from those 5,700 parcels. And they generate about $17,000 a year, which is obviously not enough to support the operation and maintenance of the pool. So how would we go about doing that? So, you know, we could annex and basically expand the district boundaries to potentially include the Fortuna Union High School district boundary and all the parcels within that, which is a couple thousand more parcels. This process can take up to a couple years. And then, you know, the application cost is not cheap to annex. So, you know, probably the easiest way, the quickest way to go about it, especially if we have the constraints of this pool's got to get built by 2025, we got to get moving once we're awarded this grant. Best way to go about getting funding for that operation and maintenance would be a benefit assessment. So basically a mail-in ballot for all of those parcels within the district boundary. And the Fortuna Fire District did something similar to this, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. But basically for a benefit assessment, they're mail-in ballots. You only need over 50% of the received mailed back ballots to move forward with being able to have that added tax benefit. So again, you know, the difference between the parcels, if we did the current Rona Rec District parcel or boundary to support that $350,000 a year, you're talking about a $60 additional per parcel annual tax, which is not a whole lot of money. If we were to expand the boundary to say the Fortuna Union High School district boundary, again, about 7,500 parcels, you're looking at, you know, $47 per parcel additional annual tax. So pretty minimal to have a pool available for the Eel River Valley community. So, you know, there are future pool or grant opportunities that we can take advantage of if we are not funded through this SPP or statewide park program grant. However, the caps, the maximum amounts are not as great. So this is really the golden opportunity for the city and the Rona Rec District to get these two projects funded. And if you all remember, I probably should have started with this info. Prop 68 was passed in 2018. It's a parks and water bond that will support, you know, water conservation, as well as park expansion and park improvements throughout the state of California. So there's a couple other also Prop 68 or California State Park funded future grant opportunities to where if we're not allocated or awarded the SPP grants, then we, you know, all's not lost. So we've got the Rural Recreation and Tourism Program where there's, you know, compared to 395 million available, this would be a much more competitive grant, as well as this regional park program. The city's not eligible to apply for this regional park program, but the Rona Rec District is. Same requirements here. So, you know, with only 23 million being available, I think you can only apply for up to 3 or 3.5 million. So that certainly won't build a pool. So again, this is a great opportunity for the district to get that pool constructed. And then we rally and do what we can to get that operation and maintenance funded. There's also a per capita program coming up here, which is basically the city and the Rotary District will each be receiving about $177,000. So that will kind of be our backup if we're not successful with these competitive grants. Then we'll both receive some per capita funds, and then hopefully we can identify some projects, perhaps with a partnership to really do some enhancement to the community. But we're going to wait and see until after the awards are announced from the SPP grant to move forward with identifying what those projects might be. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and perhaps Denise can answer some questions as well about the future pool, about the Newburgh Park expansion, or anything in general Parks and Rec related, if anybody has anything they'd like to ask.
I did want to just say that the Humboldt Swim Club was part of some of the community outreach, and the information we got from them, they participate in the Arcata pool. You know, they're very limited. And Cameron can talk about this. There's no place to compete in the county for any of the swim teams. So they were very strongly emphasized they would use the pool, they would train at the pool, and that events could come to the community. You know, which Fortuna loves events. We love to fill our hotels. We love people to come visit, buy food. So that there's a huge piece that will bring more into the community as far as economics. So, and I think that would just spur more of our community youth, especially, to get involved with swimming. Because right now, the Humboldt Swim Club does not have really many from the Eel River Valley. I know in the past, there's been a few kids that would make the trek. They had the resources to do that. But I just think that would really benefit our youth, you know, on a competitive level once that comes. And it's a perfect time. You know, the land is graciously there with McLean Foundation. We are, as a board, wanting, along with the city, going to start some kind of a marketing campaign come this summer. I think staff at the city has some ideas about that, just to get folks in the community knowing what we've been doing the last few years, because it hasn't been quiet for the district. We've been doing these studies and moving like the turtle, you know, hired somebody to do the grant application. All these steps have been in place and we're set so well. So yes, praying people, pray, you know, that we would get this grant for the pool. Yes, it would be great to get both of them, but I'm a little bit excited with the pool. So we're in a great position to move forward, and we are moving forward.
Denise,
Absolutely, I'll echo that. Go ahead, Dennis.
Denise, can I just comment a little bit about background? You know, when we grew, our kids were little, we had CRs, a place where swimming lessons were taught. Most of our kids went there. And, you know, this is an opportunity. When we canvassed the community to figure out what the community wanted for the community center, almost every meeting we had, pool was number one. From Rio Del to Fortuna around, the pool was number one. So this is an opportunity to build that pool. I guess my concern, Cameron, is, and I expressed it to Merritt, is the cost per year. It seemed pretty low considering what Fort Bragg went through down there when they built the pool and didn't have enough money to really keep it open. So that's the key, as far as I'm concerned, is to make sure we have a sustainability plan, because McLean is offering a lot there, but we really can't be supporting it on an ongoing basis once it's built.
Absolutely. I mean, and we have reached out to Fort Bragg and talked to the Fort Bragg, the CV Star pool there, and, you know, kind of talked about some of their challenges. And we definitely don't want to construct this pool without a definite plan to keep it open and support the operation and maintenance. And that was what the feasibility study was all about. So with that pool that you saw in the conceptual design, through that feasibility study, it was found that the operation and maintenance would be about $350,000. So certainly we'd want to make sure that that is secure before the pool's built, because at no point would we want to shut down the pool. And that's what happened at Fort Bragg. They built the pool, they had a huge donation, the money came in, they had a donor, so they just built it without having a plan for the operation and maintenance, of which a lot of that is staffing costs. You've got a lot of utility costs involved, but a lot of it is the staffing to operate and maintain that pool. So they got in a pickle where they had to pass an emergency tax, and luckily the community supported it and they were able to keep it open. But we want to be able to avoid any situations like that. And that's why we wanted to do that feasibility study. And that's why we want to do the revenue and generation, revenue annexation, revenue generation analysis, so that we don't make those mistakes and that pool is guaranteed to stay open once it's built. So like I said, there will be kind of a mad dash scramble to, if the pool is awarded, we find out the grant is awarded, then we have to get that benefit assessment passed or that annexation passed pretty quickly in order to be able to make sure that pool gets constructed by 2025 and then it stays open. But we certainly appreciate McLean's support and the community support. You know, I haven't heard any negative feedback about the pool. Some people were maybe concerned about, you know, the cost of the taxes, but, you know, again, $45 to $60 a year of additional annual tax for the people within those parcels seems pretty darn reasonable to me. And we did do a survey and most people said that they'd pay at least, you know, $100 a year to support that pool. So it still falls within what the community surveys came back with. So yeah, if you think about the benefit, I mean, you know, again, Aaron mentioned I'm a swimmer. I'm not from this area originally, but, you know, pretty much everywhere but Humboldt County, there's pools all over the place, you know, throughout California and in the United States. So we need this pool. I mean, with the Arcata community pool being 45 minutes away, and that's the closest community pool, that's ridiculous. We need another pool here. And you know, the main point, the main benefit of having a pool here is safety. We are surrounded by rivers, lagoons, the ocean. This is a very dangerous place, and everyone needs to learn how to swim. You could save your own life, you could save somebody else's life, you know, outside of the great health benefits that swimming provides. And, you know, as the Parks and Rec director, I hear a lot of, you know, we need more activities for youth, and this is a very rainy county, so we need more youth activities and we need things for people to do in the winter, and a pool is the perfect thing for that of all ages. There's quite a lot of benefits, and I know swimming's done a lot for me in my life, and I'm sure it could do a lot for a lot of the other community members here. And it's not just swimming. I mean, you've got water polo, you've got kayaking, you've got just water aerobics, you've got learn to swim, you've got just play. Playing in the water is great. So we just the Eel River community in particular does not have those opportunities. So we want to be able to have those opportunities for our people. It's very important. So thanks. I know I went a little bit longer here. Looks like we're almost done. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the Rotary's done for the city in the past. Thank you so much. A lot of great projects.
Hey, Cameron?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got a quick question on the park expansion. I didn't see any bocce ball courts. Is that part of the deal? Anybody think about that at all?
We don't currently have any bocce ball courts at the Newburgh expansion, but our bocce ball courts here at Roner Park are beautiful courts. So there is not a current plan to include the bocce ball courts over at Newburgh, but we are proud of our courts here that we have at Roner. Remember, that's a conceptual design. So Don, you should have been out during that community outreach talking about bocce ball for the Newburgh expansion.
All right, I'll advocate for bocce ball. Man.
All right.
Nice. There's a great comment in the chat area there from Penny Frageau about her daughter and swimming. Oh yeah, a lot of us. Chris, you grew up in Scotia. I'm sure Scotia Pool was part of your childhood. You know, my mom worked at the doctor's office in Scotia. You know, anytime she'd go to work, I'd be at the pool. So it was a great thing to do growing up here in our community. So anyway, we're going to get you out of here. We're going to do a drawing before everybody leaves. Thank you so much, Cameron. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Denise, and Dennis, of course. Thanks for showing up, and Michelle and Lisa. Everybody, thanks for being here. Who's going to win this morning? And will you win?
$70.
$70. Okay. First, we'll draw a ticket with a name on it, and that
or potentially millions.
Or potentially millions. Heather Kelly. Look at that. Heather Kelly. Holy moly. Dipping into the spray painted mayonnaise jar of fortune. And no, it's pay $5. No, sorry about your luck, dude. Thank you, Heather.
My pleasure.
It goes up another 5 this week, though. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for being here. Once again, thank you to our speaker. Let's go Fortuna Pool. Let's make this happen and have a marvelous Rotary Day, everybody. We'll see you next week. Cheers. Club meeting's adjourned. Bye.